if you're just kind of trickling in here, thanks again for joining. Real excited. Kohei mentioned this is our 19th Sodick and Friends webinar. So, we're happy to keep doing this, and I think we will continue to keep doing this as long as we see that folks are interested. So, I'm going to do a quick little introduction on the Sodick side, and then on the Teamvantage CMD Paradigme side as well, and then I'll kick it over to Weston real quick to handle kind of logistics and Q&A and how we'll handle that, and then we'll get started. So from our side, those of you that don't know me, my name's Bennett Howard. I'm a sales engineer for Sodick in our injection molding machinery division. I support Minnesota with these guys in Wisconsin, a portion of Wisconsin, as well as Michigan and an area in the Southwest as well. A lot of certainly medical hotspots. So that's kind of my role. You see on the top of your screen, Kohei Shinohara is Vice President of PlusTech Inc. If you know Sodick and Sodick Molding, you probably know Kohei. He's been I won't say how many years, Kohei, but been in sales, obviously works with our service team, leads our service team, our part support, kind of wears many hats. This is our first webinar with Kohei as a panel, so thanks for joining, Kohei.
Thank you for having me today. This is very nice to have the 19th webinar, and the sharing technology is the I think common goal for industry, including customers. So yeah, this is very good opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. And the other gentleman from the Sodick side, Weston Harbaugh, up there at the top of your screen. He's a sales engineer like myself, covers the East Coast and another portion of the Midwest for us as well. He'll be kind of the host, as he has been for all these Sodick and Friends webinars. So he'll be handling question and answer, and he'll go through that with you guys. I did want to say Len Hampton, our national sales manager, could not make it today, but he wanted to say a special thanks to Teamvantage and CMD and Paradigme folks for being a part of this. So with that said, I will introduce our panelists today. We've got at least three, I think, speaking from the CMD Teamvantage Paradigme side. Sounds like first up, we've got Lester Jones, the Chief Operating Officer of all three of these companies. Lester's I think over 40 years in the industry, very well known, especially in the Minnesota, Wisconsin area, and I believe over 17 with Teamvantage and CMD and Paradigme. So Lester, excited to hear what you have to say. Thanks for joining. And I believe after that, we'll have John Palmquist, the General Manager of the CMD Custom Mold and Design side. Again, over 40 years of experience in the industry, very well known. And I believe, John, correct me if I'm wrong, you were the founder of the Paradigme Engineering business. Is that right?
Correct.
Awesome. Well, excited to hear a little bit about that too. So thanks again for supporting us here. And then finally, we've got Kelly Stichter, the General Manager of the Teamvantage side. Kelly, thanks for joining. I believe over 25 years in the manufacturing industry, and I did want to give you a special shout out for being a University of Michigan grad, like myself. Go blue for sure. Tough loss in the tournament for us, but we'll move on. So yeah, maybe with that, Weston, I'll hand it over to you to talk logistics and Q&A, and we'll get started. Thanks everybody for joining.
All right, thanks, Bennett, very much for that intro. Want to briefly talk a little bit about the Q&A section here. We'll let these guys run through their full presentation, and then as questions may come up, I'd ask that you will go ahead down in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. There's a Q&A area. Send those questions in to myself as the host. As these guys finish up their presentation, we will go into a Q&A section where I read those questions off to them. So shoot them over to me as a host. And I guess with that, we'll turn it over to the presenters. Go ahead and take it away.
Thanks much, Weston. We appreciate the introductions. This is a fine picture of me, Lester Jones. I'm the COO of the three companies. Brief little history here, just been around a long time, responsible for these three organizations, but really the real work's done by the general managers leading the teams of people at each facility. First up, we've got Teamvantage Molding. We're located in a 111,000 square foot facility here in Forest Lake, Minnesota, specializing in injection molding and contract manufacturing. We do about 80% of our business is medical, about 20% is defense, so we're really specializing in highly regulated industries. Custom mold and design is across town, about 3 or 4 miles away from Teamvantage. We've got a 40,000 square foot facility there where we're working on tool design and fabrication, serving several different molding operations. We also produce machined components over there. And then lastly, but not least, we've got Pradigme Engineering. It's located about an hour from here in Becker, Minnesota. That's the operation that we bought from John Palmquist, who will be speaking with you in a little bit. We've got a 12,000 square foot facility there, and we've got about 13 people working over there building molds for injection molding process. A little bit more in depth about injection molding here at Teamvantage. We've got 63 machines. About half of them right now are Sodick Plus Tech machines. We've got clamp tonnages from 20 to 715 U.S. tons and shot sizes from 0.15 ounce to 107 ounce. We're working with thermoplastic, elastomers, silicone, and micro molding. Also do a lot of value-added work. So many of the parts that we produce, we've got something else that we're doing to that part beyond molding it. So we're doing all different types of secondary operations. We've got 4 clean rooms. A couple of them are set up for molding, and a couple of them are set up for assembly operations. We do a lot of turnkey programs where we're not just molding components. We're helping with the part design, building the tooling, molding the parts, doing the assembly, secondary operations, those types of things. A lot of testing and validation activities are involved, and in some cases we're handling the complete supply chain management, including shipping products to the end users. Very heavy on the engineering services side. We're working on, we have a very long history with molds. Business has been heavily run by mold makers. I have been a mold maker many years ago, so that's kind of in our DNA. So the tool design and fabrication piece, making sure that we've got good tools to make good parts. Design for manufacturability support for our customers, helping them with their part designs. They're typically the experts in what their part needs to do. They aren't necessarily experts in how to produce that part or manufacture it. So we work hand in hand with them to come up with a solution that's ideal for all parties. A lot of validation. Those of you that are involved in the medical side know how much more work there is today relative to the validation activities than what there was 5 or 10 years ago. So that's a very big piece of what we're doing, and it can end up to be quite involved. And the development of processes with new molds, coming up with those production processes and documenting and validating them. From the quality assurance standpoint, we are ISO 9001:2015 certified. We've got our 13485 certification. For the defense side, we also have AS 9100D certification. We're UL recognized, FDA and ITAR registered for the medical and the defense sides of the business. Lots of inspection capability, many CMMs with touch probes and scanning heads, vision systems, all the different equipment that's involved in those processes. One thing we do that's a little bit different from some molders is we do get involved in what we call technology transfer. We'll do as much or as little as the customer is looking to have done. So in some cases, the customer would like to do some injection molding in line with some other processes. So we're willing to work with them, get involved in the DFM, the design assistance work, design tools, specify equipment, purchase that equipment, build a work cell, get that all up and running, get it validated, train people. We've got equipment running around the world where we've trained people that never saw a molding machine before to run a process in Saudi Arabia is one example. several of them here in the United States, but we'll then end up working with them to teach them how to run and maintain that equipment and that tooling, and then transfer that to their facility where they can put it in line with some other processes that they might have. At Custom Mold and Design, as I said, that's just across town from us here, so we're located very close, which makes it very convenient for our customers. We're working on building very high precision tooling, thermoplastic and elastomeric, metal injection tools, silicone tools, multi-component molds, insert molding, all types of tooling. I think the one thing that we really have in common is the bulk of the business that we see are either situations where very, very tight tolerances are required for tight shutoff, so therefore we see a lot of metal injection mold work, a lot of LSR work because of our ability to create tight shutoffs. We also get involved with people that want 32, 64 cavities, very tightly toleranced parts where the validation of that tool is very difficult if there is variation from cavity to cavity. So people enjoy working with us because of the precision capabilities we have with the equipment and processes that we have in place. We also produce precision machine components. Again, we've got what I would consider the best equipment in the world for doing that type of work, so we make use of it for the building of our mold components and also for precision machine components. A lot of that gets involved with multi-axis CNC machining, 3 or 5 axis work, mill turn equipment. We've got some CNC Swiss screw machines, EDM wire and sinker. We do a lot of development work on new programs, new processes, that type of stuff. Typically, we're looking at medium to high volume production, although we do some low volume tooling for specific situations. On the design and engineering side, we do a lot of work on the mold design, also working on the part side, looking for design for manufacturability, those types of things, simulation. Then through working closely together between Custom Mold and Design and Teamvantage and our customers, we'll conduct tool trials and process development activities here at Teamvantage. We'll do mold sampling, mold qualification, process development. We are a very transparent company, so we work with our customers. We'll have process engineers or engineering people from our customer will come out and participate in those activities. They're welcome to be at the press side as we develop processes for their parts and actually participate in those activities. Then again, from the quality assurance side at Custom Mold, we are ISO 9001:2015 certified. We are also AS 9100D certified, ITAR registered, and we also have been a certified mold maintenance provider through the Tooling Docs program, precision components. Pradigme Engineering, the facility that's out in Becker, we're doing their tool design and fabrication, building tools, again, for thermoplastic, elastomeric molding, multi-cavity, multi-shot, micro-molding, silicone, NIM tools, kind of the whole gamut. Same kinds of activities going on there from a design and engineering standpoint to support the customer's needs. And then again, we're doing tool trials for Pradigme here at Teamvantage for the customers that are interested in that type of a service. So some of what we think makes us unique, I think number one is the people that we have working in these organizations. We're incredibly fortunate to have the skilled people on the team, and I think it really is a team of people that makes things happen. So we've got 235 people at Teamvantage, about 85 at Custom Mold and Design, and 13 to 15 at Pradigme. I think the culture here is really built around collaboration and working together. We'd like to carry that to our customers and really collaborate and work on projects together, solve problems together. There's so much more to be learned. If we got everybody around the table working on solving problems, we'll get to that solution a lot faster by having everybody involved. And I think that's a piece of what we enjoy from the process, the relationships we build with our customers. People will talk later a little bit about the relationship between Sodick, Tech, and Teamvantage. Similar kind of a situation. We really enjoy that kind of work. We've been fortunate enough to invest in the best facilities and equipment you can buy. as we would recommend. The Sodick equipment is one example of that. Top of the line equipment helps us do the most difficult work that we can find. Got superior engineering support. We've made a big investment on the engineering side to make sure that we've got people that are capable of helping our customers with the most difficult problems. Routinely apply scientific injection molding principles to build more robust processes for our customers. Then the vertical integration allows us to get involved in a lot of things because we can control the tool build, having that in-house, if you will. In many cases, we're doing insert molding with components that are produced at custom mold and design. Also, it just gives us a lot more capabilities and gives us a lot more control over the processes that we're using to support our customers. Part of what I wanted to talk about was just our history working with Sodick. I met Kohei quite some time ago and have had a very, very good relationship with him. I consider him a very good friend and really have worked hard together. And I think that's a piece of what makes business successful and it makes business fun, is by building those relationships and seeing what we can do to help each other. In many circumstances, we find there's a supplier-customer relationship, but I think we've been able to break out past that and just be good friends and see what we can do to help each other out. There's been many things that Sodick has done to help Teamvantage advance our game and become a stronger supplier. There's been a lot of things that we've done to help Sodick PlusTech from their early years. So the first Sodick PlusTech machine that we bought was a 2002 TR20EH. It had been sent out to a potential customer for a trial. They ran the machine for a year to prove that it could do what Kohei was trying to tell them it could do. And when they decided that they were going to buy 12 identical presses, they wanted them to have sequential serial numbers. So they gave that trial machine back to Sodick. And because it had depreciated some, in those days, it was at a price that we felt like we could take a risk. So we bought the machine in 2004 and brought it in and put it on our floor and put it to work. The experience we had with that machine, we were very impressed with it. We had been impressed looking at them before, but having the machine here and living with it really made us happy with the things we saw, and we now got 31 machines, as I mentioned earlier. So we've got a LP20EH2 with a 0.15 ounce shot size, and we also have a TR650EH2 with a 67 ounce shot size. So we've got quite a range of machines. 2 of the machines that we have are verticals and 3 of the machines are LSR machines. So we've got quite a range there, and obviously we've been very much happy with the equipment and continue to invest in that equipment. With them making up 50% of the presses we own, the things that we like about them is that I think the machines are built very well. They're very robust. If you take a look at in the guts what builds that machine, it's all good quality components and parts, very well built. We find that the shot size consistency, the pressure and speed that's available make a huge difference. We like to take on challenging parts, some of the higher temperature materials, thin wall sections, extremely small parts, those types of things. And the Sodicks we look at as a real advantage in producing those types of challenging parts. So I think this is a little bit of a video just to show you what's going on in we've got a couple of presses in a LSR molding operation where we're insert molding some blades. Just a quick view showing the operators loading blades into a carrier that's then transported to the molding machine where we're over molding some LSR material. These are 2 150-ton LSR machines from Sodick. Next, I thought we'd drag Kohei in here to just chat a little bit about the history that we've had together.
Yes, thank you very much for introduction of the history between Teamvantage and Sodick. It's since 2004, and nothing but appreciation with the customer supplier relationship. The lot of things that we can talk about, but as the machine builder, I think the Teamvantage take biggest advantage of Sodick, because not only they are asking machine maker to ask for the machine with spec, but they open sharing with their project and what they wanted to achieve. They share the future functions, so that not only just to pick the machine with the size and injection unit size, but we can talk about the possible options, possible kind of trick that you can use our machine functions, so that the more we know about the customer, our offer will be more robust throughout, and and I think our offer would be more valuable for customer. So definitely Teamvantage knows how to use Machine Builder.
Thank you for that. We've appreciated that situation. As we've encountered issues, Kohei and his team have always risen to the challenge and come up with solutions for us.
And I think our relationship is beyond the standard customer-supplier relationship, but we have history that doing the open house. Our open house at the Teamvantage, to have a chance to show Sodick machine capability at the Teamvantage in Minnesota, and that was very good opportunity. And also I was invited for their open house to share the machine capability from machine vendor side to present to Teamvantage customer as well. So I think the more that we share the idea, not to step in more non-disclosure things, but just sharing general concept, I think both can grow from business-wise and capability-wise. So that was very good.
We enjoyed your participation, and I think we spent some time talking with Kohei back in the early days. I think one of his struggles was that he was successful in selling some machines with some customers that would not let him talk about it. So it was difficult to display the success that they were having. So we stepped up and decided that we'd be willing to have an open house in our facility and be able to let people come in and see the equipment in a working environment. And it was a very neat situation. I think it provides opportunities for us for other business opportunities, and also supported Kohei in his sales efforts.
And definitely the being referenced by Teamvantage helped to convince the new customers as well. So that was good. That was definitely good. And also the 31 machine is not running always perfect, but sometimes the situation, the machine failure, parts broken, and some suspicious action by the machine, that they're very open about it. So not only Teamvantage, but everybody can take advantage of the machine vendor is sharing the information and open about the service situation, communicate with our service tech closely, help to bring the machine back easier, faster, cheaper. So open communication with our staff and the customers maintenance group is very helpful. That's role model by Teamvantage.
Sounds good. Anything else you'd like to add, Kohei?
No, I think just to help all the attendees to understand Machine Builder. The more we know about you, I think it's good for more robust support to customer. And I think Lester and team of Teamvantage CMD can be good reference. So please reach out to them, ask to see if it's true or not.
Thanks, Kohei.
Thank you.
So we're going to talk a little bit about some situations we've been involved in where we feel that having top quality tooling and collaboration with customers is critical. We've really feel over the years we've learned that collaboration and optimizing the design for manufacturability is essential for success. Lots of people talk about those things, but I think it's, you know, you've really got to work together with your customer to make sure that you're really taking a look at all the issues and really working on the, while it's still a design or a creative idea, to work on that before it becomes steel and plastic. Collaboration on the mold design, I think, is helpful too, working with that tool shop, making sure that we're getting the mold design exactly the way we want it, the most efficient mold that we can build. I think strong technical leadership for all stakeholders, that's the OEM, that's the people that are building the tooling, people that are handling the molding, making sure that everybody's working together and pulling their own weight to bring that idea together, make that a successful implementation, helps build better parts and reduce time to market, producing therefore better products. The work that's done to manufacture very close tolerance tooling using the best-in-class equipment leads to the best high-quality tooling. And I think if there are so many advantages, if that mold is very, very precise and a significant percentage of the tolerances in the parts is not used up in the construction of the mold, it gives you a tremendous advantage. It gives that molder a lot more opportunity, a lot more room to work within. So there's a lot of times where maybe you can get away with lesser capable tooling, but it creates problems down the road when you're on your second, third, fourth, fifth year of production. It's a real advantage if you can get those cavities as identical as you possibly can, so that you truly have all those tolerances available to the manufacturing folks. I think everybody probably knows this by now, but constant communication, make sure that people are talking to each other. I think in today's world, it's especially difficult. It's in some ways easier. We can shoot emails around, we can send text messages, but I think picking up the phone every now and again and just talking to each other and having that discussion helps you land on some of those potential issues and getting them out of the way before they become a problem, as opposed to a midnight email that may be taken out of context. I think our ability to sample the tooling in the Sodick equipment, I think the repeatability of that equipment helps us really demonstrate what the tool is capable of. Having that top-notch equipment is a real advantage. Using scientific injection molding principles helps really optimize that process development activity, brings continuity and consistency to the activity that's going on, and make sure that we end up with consistent results. We'll hand it over to John Palmquist, our General Manager at Custom Mold and Design.
Hello, I'm John Palmquist. I'd like to talk about the importance of having quality designed and built tooling, and it's, Stacy, is that possible? Hold it over. Sorry, apologize. Can't see the screen here. And its impact on the manufacturing process. It's a key consideration in the overall process, along with communication from the time the project is quoted. It's key to success. I found that the beginning of the engineering process is really at the quoting stage. We're often making napkin sketches of the molds, making sure we are quoting what really we're going to produce, because it takes away a lot of the confusion that comes downstream in the design process. Optimized part model design for manufacturability is essential. A lot of times we're suggesting, changes to the parts if possible, draft changes, wall thicknesses, things like that, just making sure we're working with the customers to make sure the part model design is the best it can be for manufacturability. And then working with the customer on mold design optimization is one of the most important stages. The mold design is, we're trying to figure out the best ejection, the best cooling, designing the tool in a way that can be manufactured on the equipment to get the most accurate cavity details. And that's really where all the engineering comes to fruition, and right up to the time of the sign off on the tool design. And then manufacturing close tolerance tooling, using the best in-class equipment along with skilled workers leads to the completion of high-quality tooling. I kind of look at this as two stages. You've got to get the engineering part of this right, get it all the tool design, best we can do. And then the second is having this equipment to be able to make sure those cavities are identical to each other and right to spec. So it's we got to share a case study with you here. One of our existing customers referred one of their largest customers to custom mold and design because of the quality tooling we've been providing to them. The OEM needed 9 16-cavity molds related to the COVID testing. Previously, they kind of shied away from molds above 8 cavities, and often kind of shied away from anything above 4 cavities because they expected to see too much variation in the cavities. But with the pandemic, a new solution was required. Typically, our first job is to collaborate with customers to optimize part designs. In this case, however, the OEM had already completed that step. So, custom mold and design went into the design process, working with the end customer to come up with optimized mold designs. Once approved, we began the fabrication. Our customer was looking for updates. We provided end customer with detailed weekly project status updates. All the tools were completed ahead of schedule, which made the end customer extremely happy. Because of the criticality of the COVID environment, timing was of the essence on these being on time. Upon tool completion, the molds were transferred to our sister company, Teamvantage, where the tools were trialed on Sodick equipment and manufacturing processes were developed. All tools went through a rigorous scientific molding development process. Tools were then crated and shipped to the molding suppliers that were partners of our end customer, which many of them had Sodick equipment. The tools were well received by these suppliers, and everyone, to our knowledge, was extremely satisfied. Our end customer told us because of the early tooling completions and the quality of the tools we manufactured, it was one of the best overall tooling experience they had ever had. Because of that experience, we recently received purchase orders for 10 new tools. And here's a testimony from the customer. I would like to thank you for all your outstanding contribution to our efforts to increase manufacturing capacity in the battle against the COVID-19 pandemic. You will be pleased to know your work has had a direct, positive impact on our ability to provide our products to a global healthcare community. Our most critical dimensions were successfully tuned on the first iteration with precise results. This is unprecedented on these precision parts. Several tuning cycles have been required on prior builds by other vendors. This resulted in a considerable schedule savings, as well as contributed to more predictable scheduling of future builds. The interchangeability of the mold parts was another example of our outstanding efforts. The ability to mix and match parts from a variety of different molds allowed us to recover from several errors by molding suppliers that would not have been possible without this level of accuracy and precision. This shortened the time that was required to recover from these unscheduled setbacks and allowed us to keep this program moving forward. That was from their principal plastics engineer of a molecular diagnostics company.
I'm Kelly Stichter, I'm the General Manager of Benefit of Teamvantage, and we can skip that one. So as John said, the customer provided a very detailed protocol and listed the studies that you see listed up on the screen that they were interested in performing for each of the tools. We collaborated closely with John and his team early on the project to really understand which presses were needed and when they would be needed to ensure we had the resources and equipment available to perform the trial. There's a special controller that was needed, and we did training on that prior to the sampling just to make sure when the tools arrived, we were ready and our team was able to perform the trial in the time frame that it needed to be completed in. The customer provided templates that they wanted us to complete to document the study results, and we provided samples to them of all the products before the tools were created for shipment. In addition, all the process documentation that we developed ourselves was also sent to the customer, so when they started up at their facility, it could be a more efficient startup. As evidenced by this case study, Teamvantage works closely with our sister sites and our customers to provide sampling services. We welcome customer-specific requests such as this and execute requests from anything from just tool function to process development to process capability studies similar to OQs. Customers are encouraged to be part of the process, as Lester mentioned. We really like them to be firsthand so they can witness what the tools, how the tool is working, what the product looks like, to see any issues if there are any before they get, so there's no surprises when the tool transfers. We can provide engineering certificates of conformance as an output of these tool sampling processes if needed to make sure the customer can get their product to market faster or do DD studies or whatever they need to help them get to market as quickly as possible. Our sampling services are supported by a very experienced team that's fully dedicated to process development. We also have metrology services located on site and also a custom mold and design to support dimensional and aesthetic analysis. We've got another video here that we'd like to show you. It's another great example of the integration of an injection molding machine and automation. As you can see, a molded component is being transferred to an automation cell. There's a carrier that was previously molded. It's staged in the automation cell and indexed into the machine, where the product that's being molded is then inserted into the carrier. The particular product that's being molded is very, very thin wall sections, and we find that the Sodick machine is perfect for this application because of that. There can be no pinholes. This is used for a diagnostic application, so there's actually a leak test that's performed in the automation cell. If the product fails, there's an offline tester that you can see, the red in that little cube right there, that we can test offline to verify that the product integrity is good. The footprint of this automation cell is very small, but very effective. There's easy access to the equipment, either it's the injection molding machine or the cell. So if we need to get in there to do tool setups or changeovers or maintenance, preventive maintenance, we can get to it very easily and safely. This cell is just one of many examples that illustrates how technology can be applied to offer robust, cost-effective solutions to complex product applications.
So our key takeaways is that the collaboration and optimized design for manufacturability is essential to be successful. The working together collaboration on the mold design, making sure that we've got that optimized before we start cutting steel to make sure that we've thought through all the various questions and issues. Strong technical leadership for all stakeholders. We've got to have the right people involved from each team to make sure that we execute the project successfully. And if the goal is to reduce time to market, that's the only way we're going to make that happen, is by having that representation from each stakeholder. Manufacturing close tolerance tooling using the best-in-class equipment leads to the completion of the highest quality tooling, and that's going to be the way to produce the highest quality parts. Constant communication on the status of the project is essential. That way people can be prepared. We are all working in the manufacturing world, and things come up, and the more we're talking to each other and working closely together, the quicker we can respond to those eventual issues that do show up. I think the ability to sample tooling and Sodick equipment is a real advantage. It really helps provide some rock-solid processes. And then, of course, using scientific molding principles really make sure that we've optimized the process development activities. If you want to learn any more about us, we've got our websites up there. Be happy to answer any questions that you would have. Thank you very much.
Great, guys. Thank you for the thanks for the presentation today. And we have a number of questions that have come in here. So maybe I'll just jump right to it. First question we have is, what class factor are your machines rated at?
Say that again. I missed part of that.
What class factor are your machines rated at?
Are you talking about clean room machines?
You know, maybe what we'll do is drive that back to the attendee that asked the question, and if you can clarify that question for us, we'll move on to another one here and have them send in maybe a clarification for that.
If it's the classification of the clean rooms they run in, it's Class 8 clean rooms.
Class 8, okay.
That's what the question is.
Great. Next question here, kind of an interesting one. Does your company really share the processing data?
Yes, I think we've got a great combination of people working here at Teamvantage that have worked at many different companies where that was not a practice, that it was looked at as proprietary information. We feel that it's important that our customers come to us for our expertise, and I think we have the confidence that if we're doing a good job, we're going to continue to have the work. So we're willing to and actually encourage the customer to participate. If they want process records, any inspection data, anything that we produce on their behalf, they're welcome to it. They're welcome to participate so that they can see it firsthand. I think that people know and understand our processes better if they participate in those development activities. It builds to a higher level of trust and a greater relationship between customer and supplier. So we are all for that and really encourage our customers to participate if they're interested.
Great. Let me circle back around here real quick. They posted this follow-up question to the class factor. It's in regards to the repeatability factor of a specific machine.
Oh. I don't have any specific numbers right now, but we find the repeatability in the things that we've done. When you get working in very, very small parts, the repeatability of shot size gets to be much more critical. And so we've done a lot of work in the micromolding arena, looking at some of those very, very small parts with extremely thin wall sections, those types of things. And I don't have any numbers off the top of my head, but we find compared to other reciprocating screw machines, as an example, we find much greater repeatability in the Sodick equipment.
Great. Next question for you here. What makes custom mold and design different from other tool shops? What would you say are your key factors of differentiation?
I would have to say that, first of all, the level of experience in the engineering area is one of those. Probably the thing that stands out the most, though, is our equipment. You know, we've got 9 Yazda machines for hard milling, cavity details and things. Very accurate equipment, as accurate equipment as we can find. You know, capable of MIM tools, you know, silicone tools. We hold very tight tolerances with those, and that's one of the main things I would have to say.
I would have vertical integration in there too.
Excellent. And that leads to actually a separate question here. When you're making the choice on your machine tools for mold building, what's critical for you to decide on? I think you just mentioned you had 9 Yazdas. What led you to choose those?
We've done a lot of work over the years where we've tested doing test cuts with different machines, and in the world of hard milling and building mold cavities and cores, you will find many manufacturers that say they build equipment as good as a Yazda. I've yet to find anybody that's willing to step up and say they build a machine that's better than a Yazda. There are machines that are extremely accurate, and what's unique about the Yazda is that they are as accurate as any other machine, but the surface finishes they produce are much superior to anything else. And if you think about what we're trying to do, we're trying to take that machine component and maintain that accuracy. It's been produced to exacting details. And then if you have a surface finish that requires you to go in with a stone and polish it, you're automatically giving up tolerances and accuracy when you're polishing that piece of a mold. So if you can cut that thing to finish and have little or no polishing to be done on it, that's going to give you the best possible results. And that's something that we see over and over with the Yazda machines, is that the surface finish they produce is much better than what we find with their competitors.
Wonderful. Next question for you guys here. Regarding the case study that you spoke of, how much lead time was saved by taking advantage of the vertical integration? And in most cases, could you expect that same time savings?
I think there was a couple of different things that went on there. Number one is building. There were a significant number of molds, and being able to deliver them, having the capacity to build that number of molds in the reduced time was helpful. And I think some of that is just having the horsepower to do that. With 80-some people over there, the amount of equipment we have, we're able to push more work through. When it's a family of tools like that, we were able to, instead of the customer typically would have looked at breaking those molds up and then sending them to 2 or 3 different shops, and then dealing with the differences in the way those were produced, the dimensions and things that would be different from mold to mold, the inability to exchange cavities and cores, that type of thing. But I don't know what you would say, John, 10, 20%, something like that.
Probably.
Great. I guess here are some more questions directly into the molding side of the business for you here. And the first one says that you had mentioned that you bought your first machine in 2004 from Sodick. At that time, that wasn't a very well-known brand. What drove you to choose the Sodick at that point?
I think a couple different things. I think Kohei was a very sincere and earnest fellow in those days, and I would say still. But that was a piece of it. We had some serious conversations about how, how they stood behind the machine, those types of things. I think looking at the machine, just the quality of the components that were in it, the way it was built, was very impressive. I think having the experience with the issues of, check rings and all the things that go on with reciprocating screw machines, we were very impressed with just their screw over plunger technology, and just, that made a lot of sense to us. To be honest, one of the first things that helped was that because it was less well known, the ability to get a machine in here to try at what at that time was a reasonable price, because it was essentially a used machine, that certainly helped. We've been trying to, over the years, I feel like I've been a bit of a Sodick salesman. I'm still waiting for my first commission check, but we've talked to a lot of people. We've been willing to talk to people about our experience just because of that, because it is different, and it's hard to, make that leap. That first one is always, in anything you do, when you haven't tried it before, it's always challenging, but it was a very successful decision, and we're very happy we made it.
Yeah, after, 17 years, that's a great partnership that started. And kind of leads to the next question here. What advantages do you feel that Sodick has over other molding machines? Boy, that's almost too canned, isn't it?
Yeah. To me, I think there's a variety of things. I think that I'll say one thing to start with is just our willingness to partner with them. What our hope was that we would get to where the two companies together, would get to where we are today. If you looked at the price that we paid for some of the machines, back in the, prior to 2010, the machines were much more expensive because they were not building as many. The volume was much lower. They had some real challenges. So they had not as much of a known name, and they were expensive. By working together and trying to help get the world, in particular this Midwest world that we operate in, to embrace that technology and to buy more machines, today I would say that they're extremely competitive, and we don't see those kinds of differentials that we did in days gone by. So that's been a great situation in my mind, where we've worked together to make that happen by us helping them get people on board and to join the Sodick bandwagon. It's also selfishly helped us because now we've got a lot better market than what we had before. I think a lot of it was just we're very used to looking at machine tools, whether it's an injection molding machine or a machining center, and just looking how it's built. We did take a trip Ray Newkirk, the owner, and I made a trip to Japan to take a look at the factory to see how they built the machines, got to see some of the unique things that they were working on at that time from a development standpoint, and it's very impressive the work that goes on at the Sodick factory, and the activities are there. But I think it all comes down to that repeatability. You can count on a machine to do the same thing every time, and that's worth a lot.
Excellent, thank you. Here's a question, says, you mentioned Teamvantage has 2 LSR presses, 2 of which are 100, or one, I guess, 150 ton. What tonnage is the other?
We've got, I must have made a mistake, we've got 3 LSR machines. We've got 250 tons and a 40 ton.
And a 40 ton out there, okay. Now, do you guys have experience with like polycarbonate LSR overmolding?
I think we have.
If so, is it rotary, like a 2-shot, or is it a transfer solution?
The work that we have done has been transfer solutions.
Okay. Next question here. Do you repelletize resin for your small Sodick presses to help with screw recovery times, such maybe your 20-ton presses, let's say?
We have not.
How about on your molds, right? What is the key difference between your mold and others or your competitors that make it possible for higher cavitation? Let's use that case study example.
Well, I don't think there's a difference for higher cavitation. It's the accuracy of the cavities that I think that stands out. The accuracy of I mean, other places can do high cavitation as well, but the repeatability of the cavities is, I think, our forte.
We see people being able to purchase higher cavity tooling on tight tolerance parts because we're consuming a lot less of the tolerances in the mold itself. That having those cavities as close to identical as possible. If you're trying to qualify the 32 cavity mold and you're consuming some significant percentage of the tolerance just within the cavities, and it creates a very challenging situation. So having those cavities built as accurately as possible so that we leave the tolerances for the molding operation instead of consuming them in the mold building operation, it gives a real advantage to that molder that's trying to qualify that part.
Excellent.
We have examples of customers that have global operations, and in Europe they build molds where they take, I'll say, a top and a bottom part that end up sonic welded together, and they have to sonic weld the cavity 1s with the cavity 1 bottom, cavity 1 tops and cavity 1 bottom, and they actually sort all the parts so that they can assemble them correctly. Here in the States, they purchase all their molds from Custom Mold and Design, and today we must have 6 or 7 molds of 8 and 16 cavity combination, and they can run any top with any bottom and assemble them without any concerns whatsoever. But it's all because of the accuracy of the molds that are being built. When we build the 5th mold 5 years down the line, as they're growing their capacity, it has to be as close to identical to that first mold that was built 5 years ago. But that provides real manufacturing benefits to the people that have to put that stuff together.
Great stuff. Thanks, guys. In regards to training programs, right? Are you having difficulties training new employees for this kind of work that you're doing? And what can you share about your training programs?
Talk about that. I don't think we do anything special. I would say that we certainly are working on training people all the time, bringing people up through the organization. I think we're a group that promotes from within when that's possible. I think that plus the way we treat people, it creates an environment where people are working together, so they're inherently helping each other out and trying to make sure that each other's successful. I think those things go a long, long ways. Certainly, we've got training programs. We're sending people to school or classes. We've got people that have gone through all kinds of programs up through a 4-year degree while working with us. Those things all help out, but I think a lot of it is just having an environment where people they can see that there's an opportunity to move forward, and it's worth the time and energy to investment to move to that next level position to be able to be promoted and earn higher wages.
Excellent. Great stuff, guys. Kohei, I'm going to actually direct this question over towards you, let you answer it, because it's more directly in respect to the Sodick presses, and what kind of tech support and parts are available here in the U.S.?
Thank you for that question. Sodick definitely is not the biggest machine builder in the United States. However, our service customer support is being reviewed as highly by our customer. All our tech crew and the parts is central support, which is in Chicago suburb. So all the parts and service coming from Chicago. And we have system to prioritize the service and the more intimate communication with our tech crew. But the logistic-wise, it's coming from Chicago.
Great, thank you, Kohei. Teamvantage CMD team here. What is your typical steel tolerance you're using for multi-cavity repeatability?
I'd say typically plus or minus 0.2 is realistic. We can hold tighter than that, but in the cavity detail, plus or minus 0.2 is very, very common.
Excellent. Excellent. I'll just take a quick minute here, see if we have any more questions filing in on us, and say great many thanks to everybody on the Teamvantage CMD and Pradigme team there today for this presentation. It's really been great, well attended. So from Sodick here, I want to say thank you. Just while we had a quick minute there. One last question came in here, so maybe we'll read that off and then we'll let everybody sign off here. But what is the average age of your tool room employee, and do you find it difficult to hire and train younger personnel?
The average age, I suppose it's in the upper mid 40s, upper 40s, probably something like that. We do have apprentices that we look for and hire, that we're always looking for younger people to train. So we are diligently working on that. So
I think that we have gone through a very long dry spell where there were not very many young people heading off to tech school to get involved in the machine tool trades. I think that has changed here recently. We've seen a lot more activity. Teamvantage and Custom Mold Design both offer 2-year scholarships for young people who are looking for a technical school degree, provide internships while they're in school, those types of things to try to help build that up. But I feel more optimistic than I did 5 or 10 years ago. That it seems like there's a lot more people that are looking into that. A lot of folks have struggled with the debt of a 4-year degree and the inability to get a position that will pay them, what they need to service that debt. So we're seeing a lot more activity. We participate in a lot of programs at schools, at high schools, middle schools, those kinds of things, and it's just there's a lot more receptive today than what it was a few years ago.
Wonderful, wonderful. Guys, again, want to say thank you to everyone still on and listening. Thank you for joining us today. And as I guess Bennett mentioned a little bit at the beginning, there are upcoming webinars. On the 21st, we will have FimTech, who is Suhas Kulkarni. He's going to come back around with with some back pressure, a presentation on back pressure. So join us then. And until then, I guess, take care and thanks for joining.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.